Welcome to Don't You Two Read, a podcast where two sisters talk about all things books.
We're just two girls who found ourselves texting about books on a daily basis and thought, why not turn on a mic?
We'll be talking about our recent reads, a weekly bookish topic, and what we're looking forward to reading next.
So grab a cup of coffee and maybe even a snack and be prepared to take down your TBR and add a lot to it as we talk all things books.
I'm Hilary, a mom in Oklahoma, and I am a mess.
And I'm Hannah, a stay-at-home mom in Texas, and I am in the mood for a cute romance.
This is episode 38, and hi, we're so glad that you're here. So, okay, so what happened was, so I'm like trying to figure out how to even explain this debacle. Okay, so what happened was Hannah and I, we finished our Twilight book, vintage book club thing. Okay, so then we pick our next book, and it was The Grace Year, which we did promo it. And then we both started it last week, and I got like 100 and something pages, and Hannah got further.
Yeah, like
slightly further.
Like almost 60%.
Yeah, of quite a bit then. Like I made it to like 30 something percent. Hannah made it further. And we both decided to DNF it. We went back and forth for quite a while, and then Hannah was just sharing like where she was in the story, and I was like, you know what? This book is just not for us. We will talk more about it later in our DNF episode whenever that comes around. But we just DNF'd our own book club book. So that's what happened.
Hilary was like, I mean, we make the rules.
Yeah, so we DNF'd it, and so we're just flying by the seat of our pants for this episode. Today, we were supposed to do book club, but we're not. We're just going to have a totally casual, just two sisters talking about what we've read lately and then what we plan to read next. And then, so no like deep dive other than us talking. And then next book club, we're planning to do Jurassic Park. So we're both very excited to read that. I think it's going to be the perfect like book to kick off summer. I hope I can't imagine I hate it.
I can.
I can't imagine I hate
Because
it, but
Jaws.
I know you hated Jaws. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm like, did the movie, take creative rights and deceive?
Make it better. Yeah.
We'll see. I do feel more hopeful about it. I will say that.
Yes. So I'm excited because Jurassic Park is one of my all-time favorite summer movies. So maybe we'll have to watch that too,
For
like
sure.
a group watch or something. I just think it's the perfect summer movie. I love it. And it's funny because Taylor's like, I don't know. I guess he feels like it doesn't align with my personality because he's like, I just think it's so strange how much you love these movies. I love them.
If Jurassic Park were real, would you go?
I would be very tempted to go because I just think it's I love like the beginning of Jurassic Park, even Jurassic World,
Yeah.
like whenever they're like the aquatic animal. I just think it's fascinating.
I think I would go because I'm an idiot. Like I'm like, you could convince me. They'd be like, it's safe and we have these gates that are, 2025 safety and blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
and I'd be like, let's go.
Okay.
I know. And there's a new Jurassic World coming out. I'm like, it's going to be bad, but I'm like, I still want to go. I think it's going to be I'm so excited. And Taylor's like,
know.
I don't understand how you like, I don't know.
The concept of dinosaurs, probably similar to like dragons. Like I just think they're so fascinating. So, yeah.
And I know you haven't read Into the Drowning Deep. Have I talked about that book on this podcast yet?
Yes.
Maybe. I think yeah. But it's been years since I've read it. But that book, I should have mentioned that one for rent-free books because that book sticks in my mind and it's similar. Like I'm okay. I have not read Jurassic Park. I've only watched the movie. But it's the same concept of like they go into all the science and data and research
yeah.
to where you're like maybe it's real. Like it's written in a way that you're like maybe this could be like Mary and the maybe in the Mariana Trench, there are like these creatures that are like, mermaids. And just like with Jurassic Park, you're like, it has me Googling, like, can
Yeah.
they get DNA from mosquitoes that are preserved in amber? I don't know. So I kind of like, I think those are almost like a little bit more scary than
Yeah.
um like ghosts or anything. And I think they're more believable to me because I love the little element of like, maybe,
Yeah.
could happen. So I'm excited. So Jurassic Park is next, we hope. And then after that, we had talked about possibly doing Sunrise on the Reaping because we're both really excited to do that. I know that's not vintage, but it's technically, part of a vintage
We're
series.
we're like, it's what our we're the boss.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but we're both probably gonna read it, and so we just want to talk about it. So, just so y'all know what's coming.
It'll be like a Rebel Witch, episode how we did a book deep dive.
And that was really fun. So I
Yeah.
hope to do more of those.
I want to do the Powerless series. I want us to both read them.
I know Tracy, who just said I mentioned her the last time, so I'm mentioning her again. She wants us. She's been telling me. Has she told you too? She's been telling me like you need to read this book for
Mhm.
a long time,
Yeah.
quite a while. But
She's told me that too, and I was like, I'm waiting until the last one is closer to
and
releasing.
it's about to come out, right?
Yeah, in April. So it's
Okay, yeah.
time. It's time. I want to read them. As soon as I finish Kingdom of Ash, I will like close the door on Throne of Glass, and then I plan to read Powerless and binge through those.
That's exciting. Okay, so do you have recent reads?
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to go over your first one?
Okay, so my first one is Love and Other Chances. This is by Tracy Baack, and this is book two in her Love and series. However, they can be read as standalone, so I mean, you can do what you want to do. If you like reading them in order, this is technically book two. So let's get into the synopsis. Tegan Jones is the epitome of an extrovert. So why is she suddenly avoiding people? For the past 3 years, she's thrived in her full-time ministry position as a mentor to college students. But now burnout is looming. Tegan takes her long-distance best friend's advice, and she finds local peers who can fill up her cup. The last thing she expects is for one of those peers to be the man that she has spent years intentionally forgetting. Brooks Murphy shredded Tegan's soul in high school, but it's evident that he's not the same guy he was 8 years ago. This Brooks is all the things that she once loved about him, paired with the growth and maturity brought about by his own faith journey. He's here, he's changed, and he is oh so appealing. But is a second chance at love worth the risk of repeat heartbreak? Okay, so to start, Tegan is her personality is the, I would say, exact opposite of mine. She is like never stop moving. She always wants to be with people. Like if there's any opportunity to hang out with somebody, she's like, "Yes, sign me up. I want every opportunity to just be with my friends. If there's last minute plans, like she loves spontaneity, she loves surprises. I told Hillary actually, I said, she is like your daughter, like my niece. I said, she's just like her personality. This is Noelle in the future. Major social butterfly. So as I was reading it, when I read like extreme extroverts, I I don't necessarily feel stressed. I just feel like
Tired?
yes, I feel tired. It wears me out. And it makes me think like I have to check myself because my first reaction is, okay, this is stressful. Like this is not good choices. Like this is like she needs to learn, she needs to grow. But I like reading them because it does give me like a perspective change that like not everybody processes the world like you do, Hannah. So I thought that this was nice because it does show that. It shows what an extrovert looks like in a healthy mind space, but also what an extrovert looks like in a non-healthy mind space. And so I think that the like differentiating between that, I think that Tracy wrote it really well because I questioned that often. I'm like, well, should she be saying yes to all of this fun stuff? Like, if she's tired, like, what does that look like? What does burnout for an extrovert look like if they need to rein that in? And so this book kind of gets into that, which I thought was really interesting. And I feel like I learned a lot just from that side of it. And then you have Brooks, and interesting with Brooks is that he's also like a social butterfly in his own way. So you have two extroverts, which typically I would say we see a lot of like grumpy sunshine relationships that is more trendy. And so I don't feel like I see it often where they are both extroverts. But I liked their dynamic because while they were both extroverts, they both had their distinct personality. Like she was silly and bubbly and fun, and he was an extrovert, but he was more like steady. He seemed like a little bit more grounded, maybe. He gave a good balance to her personality, which I liked. And this is a second chance romance. So I feel like the reason for the second chance, I can't say it because I can't spoil things, but I feel like sometimes with second chance, it's hard because you want to feel the grit of, well, why, what was bad enough for them to break up in the first place? But you don't want to go too far where now we, the reader, hate them. So I think that this one was a good one where you do get mad when you find out why we're dealing with a second chance. You do get mad, and I think you feel what Tegan feels. But convincing us to still root for Brooks and like want them to be together, she did it. Like Tracy did it in this book. So I loved it. I will say that there are some cheesy moments throughout. Like they're both their personalities. They're goofy, they're extroverted, they're loud, they like to dance and be like a little silly. And so keep that in mind. And you guys know I typically don't love that. I will say with this book, I think it fits because of their personalities. And then I also felt like it just made sense to me in the setting that we are put in. So, yeah, I thought this was great. So, if you love second chances with strong friend groups, lots of growth with sprinkles of Christian themes, try this book. That is Love and Other Chances by Tracy Baack.
And this is closed door, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are these also college students?
So, in her book one, it's college students. They're in college.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they are out of college. The character, she works at the college. So, you still have that college atmosphere, but she is graduated.
A little older.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so my first book is a major swing from this type of topic. This book is The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. Okay, I'll be honest with you guys. I read this quite a while ago, and I read it this year, but not one of the most recent. And I've really struggled to bring it because it was hard for me to come up with what it was even about. It's like one of those books that you finish and then you're like, what was that book about again? So if that tells you anything about it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a really quick recap. I had to refresh myself because I was like, I don't remember. I don't remember this book. So it's about a girl named Hazel, and I won't get into all the details that the synopsis on the book tells you. All you basically need to know is like this is a retelling of a Brothers Grimm story. I don't know much about that at all, but yes, you're talking about like a darker fairy tale type of story, which I guess all fairy tales kind of are pretty dark if you think about it originally. So anyway, but we definitely have like a gothic vibes. So dark settings a lot at night, very atmospheric, really descriptive in the way that the same writing style of like One Dark Window, I feel like would fit that. If you've read Belladonna, it would fit that. Um, I'm trying to think of other gothic gothic novels would fit. So the same writing style, not the same topic at all. So anyway, we're talking about a girl, Hazel, and her godfather is Death. And Death gives her a gift, and her gift is that anytime she touches someone who is sick, she can see immediately what will heal this person. So, I mean, it's a great gift. She becomes very popular in the town as this like, I mean, amazing healer. But the part of the bad side of the gift is that she can also see when if she touches someone who's sick that they're going to die, that nothing will help them. And so death is like, so it's your job to help them cross to the other side, into death. So she hates that part though. So Hazel's miserable and she's like, I don't like this. This is not like I don't like this. I want to run away. I want to be a normal person. She hates being like this ostracized person. So a lot of the novel is that like of her. I really liked Hazel as a character. Um, but a lot of it was she spent a lot of her childhood alone in similar fashion to like where the crawdads sing that you're like this is a
Oh.
child who is kind of raising herself throughout childhood. So that part was sad. So that's kind of like the tone that we have in this book. So she's raising herself a lot of it. When she grows up, eventually we skip to where she's an adult, young adult, and the the kingdom, the royalty, they find out, about Hazel. They need her. And then she goes to the king and they said, "Hey, it's really secret. The king is sick. We need you to see. Like, we hear you're this gifted healer." So she touches his face and she sees like the skull and she sees, no, there's no hope for the king. He's gonna die. And she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be like in cahoots with death anymore. I'm going to do my best to save the king from this mysterious disease and go against death, even though death is like, well, he's destined to die. That's what that's just what fate has said. And she's like, well, what if it's not fate? What if we can control it? I'm going to go against death and all the ramifications of that. So I don't want to say anymore. I went into this just to be clear. I think what the issue was for me is like, I believe this was on someone's like favorite romantasy list. And I just like, if you listen to like my description, I don't know what about that would say this is a romance. Like, it's not. And so I think that was one. Like, I think I was set up poorly. I was in the mood for like this romantasy or like a romance. And this was not it, guys. Like, I would not call this a romance. There is an element of like a love story in it, if that makes sense, but it is not like the focus. The focus is not like if people end up together or the building of a relationship at all. So, um, I mean, it is like closed door. I struggle to even say closed door because it's not even,
Hmm.
that's not even I don't even think that's a thing, really. So, if I'm remembering correctly, yeah, it's just, it's not something that we're having to process. Do your own research though, because I mean, again, I read this months ago, but I don't remember being like, oh my God, this book is so graphic or anything. But so just go into it knowing it is like a gothic novel. I liked that. But I think the part I didn't love was it felt a little slow to me. Like it felt slower paced, and I think gothic novels usually are. So One Dark Window is the exception. It does pick up, but I think the first half was a slower pace, not boring, but slower paced. And
Hmm.
that's what we have here. We have a slower paced book and a lot of descriptions and not a romance. So if you are looking for more of a literary novel that's gothic, that's looking at the growth of a child, her growing up and establishing her own independence in life, and also has that fantastical element, I would consider it. This definitely had a lot of like otherworldly things. I wouldn't say ghosts but we're talking about death,
Hmm.
like death and the fates and stuff like that. So I don't know. I liked it. I did like it. And there are some lines that I was like, it's really beautiful writing. I enjoyed it. But when I finished it, like I said, looking back, I was like, I remember liking that book, but I don't remember much. So, but a lot of people say it was like their favorite book of the year. They were obsessed with it. So That's why I wanted to do a better job of just saying like these are the vibes, this is what it's about. You look into it and see if it's something you're interested in because I think it was a good book. I think I was set up poorly thinking it was like a romance. It's not a romance. It's not even I don't even know if I would call it a fantasy novel. It's more of a fairy tale, a dark fairy tale.
The
So,
cover looks creepy.
it makes sense. But yes, if you look at the cover, I'll be honest, I think the cover is a very accurate representation of the vibes of this book. Like
Mm.
but it has a 4.1
Mm-hmm.
rating on Goodreads. It's pretty pops for me, but you guys know yourself, so you know whether you would be interested in it. So that's The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig.
Okay, my next book is By the Book by C.A. Steinhaus. So let's just get into the synopsis. When Ivy's bookstore is struck during a surprising spree of vandalism, she calls the first person that comes to her mind, Trip Forrester, or Sheriff Trip Forrester, her longtime crush and her brother's best friend. Ivy must face a very real present threat along with her past doubts, and Trip is fast to be fiercely protective of her. Trip Forrester has been the sheriff for less than a year, and he's the youngest in the county's history. With rampant vandalism suddenly taking place leading up to the Fall Festival, he's determined to solve things perfectly by the book. That is until the one girl he's always cared for, the one girl that's off limits, is targeted next. He's having an impossible time keeping her safe when she's decided to prove her own bravery. Ivy doesn't need to prove anything to him, though, and Trip is willing to overlook the rules to keep her by his side. When finding the person terrorizing their town leads to blurred lines, they must decide what to do with the feelings they realize along the way. So, this one is a romance, but it's like a mystery, which I thought was really fun. I don't really have a lot of notes on this book, but I've had it on my TBR for a long time and I don't know that I've seen anybody talk about it. So it was like a total wild card pick, but I was really happy that I tried it because I thought it was really cute. So this one is fall. Everything fall. Like the synopsis mentions the fall festival and I mean, I think the marketing could just push into like this is totally fall.
Who is this by again?
C.A. Steinhaus.
I'm looking it up on Goodreads.
So this author, I was looking to see if she has more because this is like book one in a, I'm assuming, interconnected standalone series, and there's nothing else yet for this series. But she has other books, and so this specific one by the book that I'm talking about is Closed Door. But the same author has other books, like I think she has another cowboy series, and that one was listed as Open Door. So it seems like she does both. So I mean, if you care, then just pay attention to that with her other books. So anyway, very much fall. The settings, like I feel like the way that she writes with describing the places, describing the small town, I loved. Very cozy. This felt like just a very cozy mystery. And I mean, I thought it was really cute. I will say, like, he's a sheriff and he's solving a crime. And there were some things that he did that I was just like, I don't know that that's what you should do or like what law enforcement is trained to do. So I don't know if you're gonna be like picky. And I did think this while reading it. I was like, I wonder if Hillary would be bothered because Hillary would probably know more
I
tech
don't know.
than I
I
would.
honestly don't know that much about law enforcement, um, like procedures, but I will say I did get pulled over myself today, so I could tell you that much.
Um,
It's been a day, guys. That's why I was like, I'm a mess. Just I can tell you how that procedure went.
the only other thing about this book that I will say is that there was the nickname Honey, like he calls her Honey all often. And I don't know. This is just me being a Scrooge, I guess. I was like, okay, like who's calling them honey like every time? Like, come here, honey. I don't know. I didn't
Just
like.
that one.
So yeah, that's it. That's really like the biggest criticism that I have, which honestly, I don't think that's that, upsetting. So yeah, Closed Door, there is language. So I mean, there's a few F words in there, so there's language.
The cover looks really cute, though.
So, but yeah, if you're looking for like a very cozy romance, very cute. He's a sheriff, she's a bookshop owner. It's a very cozy, cute romance with mystery.
It's like Andy Griffith.
Yeah, yeah, for real. By the book by C.A. Steinhaus.
Hannah, there's a second one coming.
I mean, okay, it's about a whole group.
Half baked,
Yes,
maybe
yes.
from a bake shop.
Okay, that's one of the friends. I'm clicking want to
Okay.
read. That's one of the friends in the book, and I think that the man that like it was I'm trying to think. It was he was like I don't know if he was like fireman or some sort of rescue team something. So I was thinking I don't know, I like the vibes and it's yeah, the setting is like a small New England town. So anyway,
Cute.
I would read more by this author for sure.
Okay, cute. Okay, let me pull up mine. My next book is You Are Fatally Invited by Ande Pliego. This is a mystery and thriller. Finally, I told Hannah I'm finally bringing another mystery and thriller. I feel like there's only a couple of you that read them, but here's another one for you. I will say I just finished this one. I really enjoyed it. I haven't read a thriller. I mean, you guys know I bring everything I read. It's been a while, but this one, I don't know why it appealed to me. I follow Crime by the Book. She has a Bookstagram account, and that's all she shares are mysteries and thrillers. And she is in Houston, so I
Oh.
I don't know that's how I found her, but anyway, this is basically a novel. It's very much based on Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. So I told Hannah, I know Hannah has talked about that book or that story on here. I really liked that book. Hannah watched the play, was scared by it. But so it's very, very, very much based on that. So if you like And Then There Are None by Agatha Christie, I would say, and you want something very similar, I would think this one will be your cup of tea. We have the difference in this one is it's about mystery thriller crime writers, and they're all mysteriously invited to this like really, really famous author. His house, and he's like, I'm hosting a writer retreat. You guys can come and like learn from me. And they're all very popular, but this main guy is the most popular. And so they come and they know like his pen name, but they don't know who he is. And then a lot of weird things start to happen, of course, because it's based off And Then There Were None. And the writers, like, a dead body pops up and they don't know who did it, and it's like all these writers, and the crimes that are happening are like scenes from their books, and so they have to survive basically things they have written. And so we
Mm.
discover later like no one here is innocent, so we have flawed characters. However, I would not say they were unlikable characters. They were flawed, but I
Yeah.
mean some of them are unlikable, but you do have likable characters, but they're flawed. So everyone has a secret. We don't know what their secret is. And I love it because it was very strongly also based off of Clue. When you open the book, there's like a Clue board game set up, but with these rooms in there listed. And then at some point in the book, they do have a Clue game that they get out. And it was like personalized. And they're like, what's this? And it's a Clue board game that someone they don't had personalized, and it was like their pictures were on the cards, and they're like, oh, we're part of the Clue game. So they had the authors were like the character, like the players. Instead of Professor Plum, it was this guy. And then they have the rooms, and then they had different cards for like the occupations, and then they had crimes. And they're like, so time to fess up, and no one wants to fess up to like like the serial killer. Anyway, so you're trying to piece together the whole time of who is the author, and who is the killer, and who is what's going on. I I will say I'm very bad at guessing. I don't really ever. I just play along with the story. So there's a couple elements. There's one element that I guessed, but then there was a few things that surprised me. I gave this 4 stars. Um, that was just I really liked it. Like it wasn't a bad rating. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. It was good for the weekend, a good weekend book. Uh at the very end, it did get a little bit outlandish. There were a couple things that I was like, I don't know how this works. I don't know how that's possible. A little bit, you had to suspend some belief. But I still had a really good time getting there. And so it wasn't like going to be an all-time favorite book of the year for me, but I really liked it and it like sparked my interest in mysteries and thrillers again. I wasn't scared. I didn't think, and I want to know because people do ask me about this about mysteries that I read. This one was not supernatural or no ghosts or anything. There is an explanation for everything that happens, and I appreciated that. It wasn't just like, well, and then it was a ghost. I hate
Mm,
books like that. It wasn't like that. So that was You Are Fatally Invited by Ande Pliego. Okay, and that was kind of the our recent reads.
yeah.
Do you have anything on your short list?
I have Wormwood Abbey by Christina Baehr.
Oh yeah, I don't like this name. Wormwood.
Wormwood. It's the place. Her last
Okay.
name is Worms, though.
Ew, see?
Yeah, that's not
If you
good.
pronounced it worms, do you think is she in a
Yes.
different country?
No, I mean, yes, it's in a different country. It's Yorkshire, but they say worms.
I don't like it.
But
Go
anyway,
ahead.
so this is like for this is for an online book club. It is book one of many, and it is a cozy gothic novel of mystery, dragons, and the perils of friendship. So it's a cozy fantasy, so I don't know if you'd like it.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I knew it from the second I from the second I heard it. Um, okay, so on mine is Broken Country. I am sure everyone has been seeing this.
Oh, yes,
At
yes,
least
the
it's
one
been
I
showing up
sent.
on. Okay, this has actually been on my radar for a long time because another lady I follow, at Waco Reads, she was saying she got an arc of this. She's at a bookstore in Waco, and she recommended this strongly. And I added it to my TBR back like in October, but she did say this, so that's why I trust it. She said it had feelings of Where the Crawdads Sing. Like she was like, I think if you like that one, you'll like this one because she said they both had like courtroom drama and a
Mm,
mystery, and like the setting and descriptors felt similar. And I was like, okay, I trust her. I don't think she would just throw that around. That's an episode Hannah and I want to talk about. I feel like people throw Where the Crawdads Sing around a lot for a comp. But since then, so it's been on my list and it's been on a hold. I've been on hold for the library since then. But it since has become on the book for Reese's book club, and then it's everywhere now because of that. But I'm
mm-hmm.
excited, and guess what? Every time I say that, I just think of Joe Biden. Like it's like the Jim Carrey. He's like, guess what? Just
Oh my, well, I'm like, what?
I'm like, oh my God, I need to stop talking. The hold became available today, so that was the ending. That was it.
Dumb.
And that's it. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. If you've made it this far and didn't add this episode to your DNF pile, thanks a bunch.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode for the Don't You Two Read podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our recently read books and hopefully getting to know us better as we begin this podcast journey with you guys.
We will be including timestamps in the description on every episode so you can check there for books or products that we mentioned in today's episode.
Be sure to tune in to our next episode when we will be chatting about all things books. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Don't You Two Read Podcast, and you can find me at Hannah Reads.
And I'm at Hilary Reads. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a moment to follow us? You can also rate and review us wherever you listen. And as always, please share this with all of your bookish friends.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, we hope you have a magical week filled with 5-star reads.